Our top story, a driver's missing after their car was swept away by floodwaters in Sydney's northwest. The emergency is unfolding as the heaviest rain in nearly 3 decades lashes parts of the east coast. More than 100,000 residents in New South Wales and Queensland have lost power as strong winds and torrential rain sparks thousands of calls for help.
Yeah, we've got a situation in which a whole lot of different things going on at the moment. We've got divers searching for a driver whose car was swept off a causeway at Gulston Gorge in Sydney's northwest. The SES has received more than 6,000 calls for help on Sydney's wettest weekend since 1992. The coastline from the Hundred of Bega is on flood watch. A hazardous surf warning is in place as well across the state.
In Queensland, the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast saw widespread flash flooding. Flood warnings are in place for drought-ravaged Dalby. The SES received close to 500 calls for help, 32 of those for floodwater rescues, after drivers became stuck on flooded roads. Our reporters are standing by in Queensland and New South Wales this morning. We begin this hour with Danica DiGiorgio, who's at Gulston Gorge in Sydney's north, where a search is underway for a driver missing in floodwaters after his car washed off a causeway. Danica, police have just arrived.
Annalise and Tom, they have divers in just the last 20 minutes or so. In fact, behind me, they're just getting some gear out of their truck, just preparing, as you can see, they're getting that diving gear out as they do prepare to head into the floodwaters. It's still a very dangerous situation this morning. In fact, there is a big sign right in front that says that this road is subject to flooding. It's called Salloway Road. At around 4:30 last night, a witness reported that a silver Mercedes had actually entered the floodwaters. Now, we understand that there's potentially was at the time one person inside, a male occupant. SES crews did come down here. They found nothing. A couple of hours later, divers did head back into the water. But given that the situation was so dangerous at the time, we're talking conditions where around 2,700 SES calls were made. 170 of those were actually for floodwater incidents. So it was very difficult conditions. They couldn't complete their operation, but they have just arrived in the last half an hour or so to head into those floodwaters to search for anything, although a car has not been recovered.
Well, at Gulston Gorge, we had a car washed off the causeway there. We're yet to find the driver of that vehicle. New South Wales Police are now involved and will be handling the situation from here. We hope and pray that that works out successfully, but we are just waiting for some further information from the police.
I spoke to a resident a short time ago who said that today's conditions are vastly better than what they were yesterday. In fact, the water was somewhat still in the middle of this road that I'm currently standing on. So much more favourable conditions today to head on to a search like this. There's also several police officers here at the scene. It has been cordoned off. We are not able to get any closer than what we are right now, but certainly waterlogged parts of New South Wales, there are still a number of evacuations in place. But Tom and Annalise, we will bring you the latest on this search throughout the day.
Danica, thank you. We've got Stella Todorovic at Milperra in Sydney's southwest. Stella, we can see behind you still so much water on the road there. Any indication on when it will be able to return to normal?
Well, Tom, this major flood warning's been in place for the Georges River for the last 12 or so hours, and this river peaked at 5.4 metres this morning. Last night, thousands of properties were evacuated, and today others are preparing their homes for the dangerous floodwaters. There are people cooped up seeking higher ground in the top floor of this restaurant here. I spoke to one resident a short time ago who says she's experienced floods here before, but nothing like this.
As soon as I came down here to survey and saw the water start coming up, I just went, oh yeah.
You just decided to go. Did you take anything with you?
Just some clothes. And we saw this Asian guy try to drive through it and he got stuck. It was shocking. Not worth it.
Yeah. So what's the plan for the rest of the day? You obviously can't get through.
Yeah, I don't know. I was supposed to be at work, but I took the day off, so they're all kind enough. So, but yeah, I might try. I don't know if I'll go for a walk. One of the guys is still there. He said he's mopping up, but he said it's not too bad at the house.
Is there electricity?
Yep, there's electricity still on. Yeah, so hopefully not get electrocuted.
Take care. Tom and Annalise, residents are slowly making their way here to Milperra Road. This is usually a very busy road. People are trying to get into their businesses. fishing tackle, trying to figure out what's going on in there. There's no electricity. We've seen batteries coming in and out. They're really trying to figure out what's going on. But it's not just Sydney's west. Sydney's north and northwest have also been badly affected. The Hawkesbury River breaking its banks last night, forcing the evacuation of residents at Richmond and North Richmond. Power is currently being restored to some 100,000 properties. 33,000 properties have running power now. They're all good. As for the transport network, there are going to be delays right across the board today. The advice to commuters is to delay all unnecessary travel or simply to stay at home. More than 50 schools are also closed today, forcing kids to have a bit of an extended weekend. I spoke to some students a little bit earlier today and they don't seem to be too upset about the fact that they don't have to go to school. For the residents in low-lying areas near the Illawarra River, they are being advised to prepare to evacuate as we are expecting this storm system to move further down south today. But there is some good news. Sydney's dams are up 63.6%. The Warragamba Dam up about 18% just in the last week. So it's not all bad news. Quite clearly you can see that this has put Sydney's streets in chaos. There's a lot of water on the roads. It's very dangerous, a lot of flood rescues, but definitely it's a good sign that our dams are filling up here in Sydney.
Stella, thank you. Yeah, look, pretty tough time in some of these flooded areas, but a lot of that rain has been welcome. Stella will keep updated. Well, low-lying areas are flooded and dams are filled beyond capacity as a major rain event sweeps across parts of Queensland.
As Brendan Smith reports, emergency crews are also working through hundreds of calls for help.
The town of Dalby in Queensland's Darling Downs is one of the worst affected areas after a weekend of drenching rain. Floodwaters peaked at 3.15 metres. Homes in low-lying areas were inundated and there's more rain on the way. The town is set to receive a further 50 millimetres over the next 48 hours. Nearby towns also received significant falls, 126 millimetres over 24 hours in Oakey, 110 millimetres for Toowoomba. The SES is working through almost 500 calls for help. Some of those were drivers not heeding warnings to avoid flooded roads. There were 32 call-outs for floodwater rescues. Flash flooding was also recorded across Brisbane, the Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast, and 3 dams across the state's southeast are beyond capacity. Gold Creek in Brisbane's Upper Brookfield is now 132% full. More showers and thunderstorms are forecast for today.